Hello.
Hello.
I have Abby here with me to talk about our next lesson. And this is a fun one. This is one that I always look forward to when we get our year started. And we went out into the garden today and we collected some leaves to look at for some samples. And we got a couple different ones. We got a little one off of a coleus, and that one off of our raspberries and blackberries. And this is from a fern. And this last one is from the hosta. And it's a beautiful big leaf. Look at that. So this hosta leaf is really quite cool to look at. I'm going to bring it close to you again so you can see up close. You can see all those cool parts of the leaf. And hostas are a really cool plant. They grow pretty large. And so we wanted to show you this beautiful leaf. The reason we collected some leaf samples is that we wanted to talk to you today about leaves and how they connect to all of the other work we've been doing. So I want to remind you of all of the great stories we've been hearing. So we had the first great story, which is the story of the universe, where we talk about how everything that we see today came to be in that instant in time, and from everything from a puppy to a platypus to a pony to a hosta, the potential for all of those things came to be in that one moment in time. And so then we talked about the second great story, the story of life, and we learned how that on Earth, all particles are given properties and laws to follow, and within the universe, actually, not just on Earth. And something was happening. The beauty, the perfection of the Earth had changed. And so one more type of particle was created and given its properties. And those properties were to grow and eat and breathe and make more just like itself. And those were the particles of life. And we talked about the jelly blob being the first particle of life. And then we've talked more about that. We talked in the third great story and connected back to timeline of life, that life experimented for a very long time. And it took a very long time for the Earth to be prepared for this special human. But before the humans came, plants came to Earth. And with the plants, it's interesting to think plants are life. And so plants follow the rules or the laws of growing, eating, breathing, and making more like themselves. And so I wanted to bring this leaf to share with you, to talk about the leaf and how the leaf is part of this life
cycle.
Well, not just the life cycle, but just how this is life. Not just people, not just animals, not just jelly blobs. Plants are life too. So I have a question for you, Abby.
Okay.
Have you ever thought about how plants eat food?
They eat.
They do. Plants eat and they drink and they breathe. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So plants, because they're life, they are alive, they have to do all those things because that's the rules they make. They also make more like themselves. But you probably knew that because you know about seeds, right?
Seeds are very annoying.
Some of them, yeah. Okay, so wondering about how plants make food or how plants eat, I have a fun story to share with you. When we look at this leaf, inside this leaf and all other leaves, there is a food factory in there.
Dun, 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 dun.
So within this leaf, the plant is making its own food. There is water inside of here, just like there's water inside of our bodies, there's water inside of this leaf and
this leaf.
And that leaf. And so something to think about is that water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. And maybe you've heard of water being referred to as H2O. H2O is telling us there are 2 bits of hydrogen and 1 bit of oxygen per water molecule. So inside this leaf, there is H2O, hydrogens, and oxygen. Now, here's something funny to think about. This plant uses the water that it drinks and combines it with the gas or the air that surrounds it. It breathes that air in. And the air that is surrounding it, just like surrounding us, is called carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is made of elements as well. Carbon dioxide is CO2. So carbon and a little bit of oxygen. C is carbon and O is oxygen. So this plant uses the H and the O from the water and the C and the O from carbon dioxide from the air to make food inside the leaf. Now, it can't do it all on its own. It needs something to cook it with. Just like we use our oven in our house, the leaf has a solar oven in the sun. And so with the heat and light from the sun and the water and the carbon dioxide, this leaf makes food that feeds the plant. Now, I have a chart that I colored and thought about while I was writing this lesson. And so I want to show you this chart. Now, I'm going to show you next to me and then I'll get it bigger. This chart is called The Leaf as a Food Factory. And we can see the general shape of a leaf in the background, and then we see the factory workers. I'm going to zoom in on it so you can see it. And so hold on just one second. Okay, this chart, the food factory of the leaf, shows all of those things we were just talking about. So here we have a blue elevator coming up, and this blue elevator is bringing water from the roots up through the stem and into the leaf. And you see this little guy right here. He's pushing this wagon or cart full of these little molecules that have 2 blues and 1 red. That's H2O. So 2 H's and 1 O makes water. And then these little guys over here are taking apart because the leaf really only needs the hydrogen and doesn't need the oxygen. So the hydrogen is separated from the oxygen. The plant does not need this extra oxygen, and so it gets dumped out as waste, which is really, really important because plants breathe in carbon dioxide, but what do humans breathe in? Oxygen. Oxygen. So the plant is taking the water, H2O, and separating out the oxygen, which then we can use, humans can use. Okay, so that's talking about this elevator of blue coming up. Now let's talk about this over here. This guy and these tubes coming down this way are showing us the air that the plant is breathing in. And you can see these molecules have 2 reds and 1 black. And the red is still oxygen, and the black is carbon, CO2. 1 carbon, 2 oxygen. Carbon dioxide is breathed in through the plant, and it comes down here and it's mixed with the hydrogen from the water, and it's all stirred up and made into like cake batter or muffin batter. And this guy's taking that new mixture up, and this is our oven, our solar oven that's turning this mixture into food for the plant. And then that food for the plant is carried back to the leaf and sent to the rest of the plant as food. We are so lucky that plants have the ability to take in water and take in carbon dioxide, use just what they need and get rid of the oxygen, which we really need, and use what's left to make the food. And then the food travels back through the plant. It's really quite something to think about how plants make their own food. They just need water and light and heat, and they need to be able to breathe. They need carbon dioxide. And so with this leaf, this hosta leaf, we can't see the work being done, and there aren't really little people inside the leaf doing those jobs, but we know that this leaf is doing this work for its plant. And it's really cool. We can see how all of that water and food is transported by looking at the veins. I don't know which picture is better to look at. You can see it. That's how it all transports in and out of the plant. This fern leaf is doing the exact same work. This leaf is taking the water and the carbon dioxide using the heat and light from the sun to convert it into food. This coleus leaf is a food factory for its plant. This plant takes the water and the carbon dioxide, mixes it together with the heat and light from the sun, and turns it into food. And this blackberry leaf collects the water from the stem and the carbon dioxide from the air, mixes it together with the sunshine, light, and heat, and makes food for the plant. And aren't we lucky that all of these plants give us back oxygen through the process that they are creating their food? I have many more stories to share with you. I'm sorry, I was looking for my other chart. Hang on one second. Okay, thank you for being patient. Okay, so aren't we lucky that these leaves do this work for us? I want to talk about a couple new words, or a couple words that might be new before I show the next chart. So this process where the leaves are taking carbon dioxide and water and using the light and heat from the sun to make food is called photosynthesis. Now, last week we talked about phototropic plants, plants that turn towards the sun. Photo means light. Photosynthesis, these ones are creating food or creating energy from the light. Photo is light and synthesis is to create. So these are creating from the light. It's really cool. And you can tell which plants are going through photosynthesis by their color. And cells, plant cells, the little bits inside there that are going through photosynthesis are green. So some leaves, like in the fall, when leaves change color, they're changing color because they've run out of chlorophyll, and so they're no longer creating food. And that's why they fall in the fall. That's why they fall in autumn, because the leaves are done doing their work as the food factory. They fall off, and the plant grows new ones in the spring. So this food factory is green because it has chlorophyll. And this one has green and this dark red color. And this one here is bright green. But as we're seeing leaves start to change color outside, those leaves are done doing photosynthesis, and the trees and plants that have the leaves changing color, they're going into a lower, slower growing period for the winter time. Okay, so those new words were photosynthesis and chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is what makes the leaves green. Here's the other chart that I wanted to show you. This one is one of my favorites. I can't get it quite all on the screen, but it's close. Let's see if I can do it this way. It's hard to see it. I think you can see everybody but this tiny little bottom. Let's see if I can do it this way. There you go. Okay, you can kind of see the sun up there still. All right, this chart is really fun. I like to look at this one because this is a impressionistic, not realistic drawing of a plant, and these big circles are the leaves. And so when we're looking at this, these are showing you how the leaves, like look at these guys, they're like, whoa, the sun, I'm worshiping the sun, because the sun is helping them do their work. These leaves need that light and heat from the sun to make their food. And so they worship the sun that provides them the energy and light and heat that they need to do their work. Think about which one's your favorite. I know which one's my favorite. Do any of you have a favorite? I'm going to switch it so that you can see closer up and think about which of these guys is your favorite.
I don't know which one's my favorite.
Okay, which one's your favorite, Abby? The little one? That's funny. My favorite's this guy right down here at the bottom who's just like, yes, love the sun. They're like sunbathing, like at the beach. So this image is showing us how the leaves are worshiping the sun. We learned about that last week with phototropic leaves, leaves that turn towards the sun, and they do that because they need the sun to make their food. Okay, I can't wait to see your follow-up on the plant and the food factory, or not the plant, I'm sorry, the leaf and the food factory of the leaf. See you next time.